Hello everyone, welcome back to Easy Natural English with Liam. So today, as usual, I'll be speaking to you in natural English that's a bit easier with no script and no editing, so you can hear some real English that's hopefully not too difficult. Today, I want to talk to you a bit about tea because it's very important in British culture. You know, I'm a British guy, and recently, the whole time I've been doing the podcast, the YouTube, I talk a lot about coffee because personally, I really like coffee a lot. But I am still a British guy, so of course I do like tea as well. So today I thought I'd talk a bit about tea. If you're listening on if you're watching YouTube, then you would have heard in the last video me talking about the word cuppa. In the last video, I made Cassie try to guess some British slang or try to test her British slang, see how much slang she knows. But that's only on YouTube. So if you're listening to the podcast and you want to hear my wife Cassie trying to trying to show us how much British slang she's learned from me, because, you know, she's a Japanese American and she speaks American English. So there's some British slang she doesn't know yet, even though she's been with me for a long time. So go over to YouTube and check that out if you're on the podcast version. But yeah, I talked about the word cuppa in that video. So cuppa is a short way to say cup of tea. So when you go into somebody's house in the UK, one of the first things they'll probably ask you is, would you like a cuppa? And cuppa means cup of tea. So it's a short way to say cup of tea. So this is a very common culture in the UK. We always, when we go in someone's house, you want a cuppa, even if they're coming to your house for a short time. Like if it's someone who's coming to, like a plumber coming to fix your pipes or something, then we'll probably offer that person a cup of tea. And tea in the UK, is always what in other countries they call English breakfast tea. But in the UK, we just call it tea or normal tea, because for us, that's the normal tea. Sometimes on the box, it might say English breakfast tea. But yeah, in speaking, it would be strange to say that. Or it says it on menus sometimes. But yeah, normally we just say, do you want a tea? It means English breakfast tea. So like a black tea served with milk, and it's always with milk, because the tea bags that we use are made to go with milk. So sometimes I hear people say, oh, I tried like an English tea and I didn't like it, but it's because they didn't put milk in there. And these tea bags are made guessing that you are going to add milk. So they're made a little bit bitter so that when you add the milk, it's a really good balance. Because, for example, in Asia, a lot of people drink black tea with no milk. You can get milk tea here. You can get tea with milk. But a lot of people drink black tea with no milk. So the black tea is normally lighter and maybe a bit more kind of floral tasting. It's very good, but it's very nice with no milk. Whereas tea in the UK, if you drink it without milk, of course we have some that's made to go with no milk, but we have a lot that are made to go with milk, so they'll be a bit more bitter. Because if you have, personally, I think, when I try milk tea in Asia, I find that it's too light. Sometimes I feel like this just tastes like milk. It doesn't really have the balance that I think it has when you use a stronger tea. So I think it's actually better to use a stronger, more bitter tea when you add milk, and it has a good balance. So yeah, so that's why in the UK, you should definitely add milk if you're using a British tea bag. So yeah, when we go to people's houses, we always offer tea to people. Sometimes when I've been living in other countries, sharing apartments with people, or I've stayed in hostels, and there's been other people around who are not British. And every time I turn the kettle on to make a cup of tea, I always asked everybody, do you want a cup of tea? Do you want a cup of tea? And sometimes people are asking me why do you ask me every time? Just make your own cup of tea. But in the UK, it would be rude if you just get up and make a cup of tea and you don't ask the other people around you, it would be really rude, just to make a cup of tea for yourself. So it's kind of etiquette. If you're going to make a cup of tea, you should always ask the other people, do you want a cup of tea? And we drink it at like every point of the day. So like, in the morning, a lot of people wake up, drink a cup of tea. You're going to start some work. You're like, okay, let's start work. Right, I'll make a cup of tea so I can drink the tea while I work. And then maybe you finish your work. Whew, I need a cup of tea. Then you eat your lunch, and then after lunch, I need another cup of tea. So really, some British people drink many, many cups of tea in one day. Now when I'm living outside of the UK, I don't have that habit so much. I usually drink coffee in the morning, have another coffee around lunchtime, and then maybe I might have 1 or 2 cups of tea later in the day. But when I was living in the UK, and I was living with other British people, because everyone was always offering to every time they made one, anyone else want a cup of tea, I used to always be like, yeah, okay, I'll have a cup of tea. And then we'd just be drinking tea all day. So when I was back in the UK, like studying, and when I was younger, I just drink a lot of tea all the time. It's nice. And a lot of people have it with some biscuits as well. So it's quite common, make a cup of tea, especially if you've got some guests, make a cup of tea, and you get the biscuit tin out. So in the UK, we really like biscuits. In America, they would call these like cookies. But we have lots of different types of biscuits. Like a digestive biscuit is very popular. Digestive biscuit is kind of just a plain biscuit. So it's nothing too exciting, but the idea of digestive biscuits is you have them with your tea, so it's not too strong. And they're very good for dunking in the tea. So dunking means like putting into a liquid. So a lot of people have a biscuit, drink the tea, and dunk the biscuit in the tea, and then but you have to be careful. You have to dunk quickly. Sorry, that was my phone. I should have put it on silent. A lot of people will dunk biscuit very quickly, because if you leave it, it will break and it can fall into your tea, and it's really not very nice. So it's also another thing about etiquette is don't dunk your biscuit into someone else's tea. Even if it's your family, your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, very close. When I was younger, when I was really young, I didn't drink tea. But I wanted to dunk my biscuit in the tea because I knew it was good. And my family used to get really angry with me because I would kind of sneak and dunk in their tea. And they're like, hey, if you want tea, make your own tea. And I'd say, well, I don't want tea. I just want to dunk my biscuit. But people would get really annoyed with me, because sometimes it would go wrong and my biscuit would just fall into their tea. And it's kind of a ruined cup of tea then, a spoiled cup of tea. What else about culture, British tea culture? Well, if you go to live in the UK, I'm sure you'll start to learn these things. Another important part of tea culture is knowing how to make the tea for people you're giving it to. Because we all have a way that we like it. And like I said earlier, we often ask people, like, if I'm going to make a cup of tea, I ask everybody else, do you want a cup of tea? And you have to ask people, how do you want it? Like I said, is almost always with milk. So people usually won't have it black, but some people might want to have it black. Personally, like I said, I don't think British tea bags are very good when they're black, but some people might want it black. But normally people say milk. And then sugar or no sugar. Some people want 1 teaspoon, 2 teaspoons of sugar. Personally, I think it's better with no sugar. But some people like to add sugar. And also some people are picky, or picky means kind of fussy, means they like things a particular way. So some people are picky and they want to have the tea bag brewed in milk. Like they put the milk first and then they add the water. And some people, I think the normal people, I think you should put water first, because tea doesn't brew well once you add milk. But maybe some people, they like it to brew less, maybe not to be so strong. So some people like to put the milk first and then the tea bag. So if you ask them, how do you like your tea? They might say milk first. And they mean like put the milk in, then put the tea bag, and then put the water. So then it doesn't brew so strong or something. But yeah, personally, I think that's crazy. I think you should put the water in first, wait a minute or two to let it brew. And brew means to infuse, like to let the tea get into the water. And then after a minute or two, then you add the milk. And it doesn't take, the British tea bags don't take long to brew because they're usually made with like very fine leaves or sometimes almost like a powder. They're made to brew very quickly. So also that's maybe why some people might make a mistake if they're not used to making tea with a tea bag. Like if they're used to making kind of loose leaf tea, which takes more like 2-3 minutes to brew, they might wait a long time with a tea bag and it doesn't turn out very nice. So they brew very quickly. So you just need to leave a minute or two and then add some milk and then take the tea bag out. If you leave the tea bag in there, it will get very strong. But that's also some people's choice. So some people might say leave the tea bag in. So yeah, when you're making tea, sometimes it gets a bit hard. If you've got 4 or 5 people and one of them says, yeah, milk first, 1 sugar. The next person, leave the tea bag in, no sugar, just a little bit of milk. Next person, give me plenty of milk, 2 teaspoons of sugar, and you've got all these specific ways in your head, and maybe finally you're just like, make it yourself. I'm going to make mine, you make your own, because there's like too many details. Yeah, and then you get out the biscuit tin and eat them together. I think a lot of people around the world, when they imagine British people drinking tea, they think of this like high tea, this kind of 5:30, and you have a tier of like biscuits, like sandwiches, and then cakes. No, sandwiches, scones, cakes on like a 3-tiered plate, and you're drinking with very fine cups, fine china cups with a teapot, and like, oh, lovely, and putting the little finger out while you're drinking like the Queen. But that is only like a traditional thing, mostly for like rich people, because normal people don't have time to do that. And it's something sometimes people do on a special occasion, but honestly I think most people doing that these days in the UK are probably tourists. The way most British people drink tea is in a mug, just in a normal big cup with a tea bag and their milk or their sugar if they like that, sitting on the couch watching TV, maybe eating some biscuits with it. That's like normal tea culture. It's not such like a special occasion like it is in other countries. Yeah, that's normal British tea culture. So if you go to the UK, or if you are in the UK, you'll see what I mean. When you go to people's house, they'll offer you a cuppa and you might get a biscuit as well. So thank you all very much for listening today. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment your thoughts about this video. Tell me if you knew about these things already, or if there's anything that you didn't know that you found out today. If you're listening to the podcast, then follow and review on the sites where you can do that. Thank you all very much. Special thank you to my Patreon supporters. If anyone else wants to support the channel, there's a link in the description of the video and on the description of the podcast. If you'd like to take a lesson with me, there's also a link in the same place. So again, thank you all very much, and I'll see you all back here next time.